I'm Madison, and this is my Comm interview. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Nia. I attend the University of Notre Dame. I'm an architecture major, and I am in Flaherty Hall. Go Bears!
Do you know why I'm interviewing you today?
For your Comm projects.
It's on being an Air Force kid.
Okay.
So, obviously, moved around a lot, or I assume.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
It's been pretty extensive.
Okay, so, name all of them.
I was born in Maryland on Air Force Base, and then went to Colorado for a little bit. Almost got eaten by a bear.
Go
went
Bears,
back
Rush
to Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
Went back to Maryland, and then we went to Ohio, Germany, Texas, Georgia, and I'm here.
That's awesome. So what's your favorite place you've ever lived?
Germany, hands down by far, without
How
a
come?
doubt. Just the travel opportunities and like the new things you can learn from being in Europe, like about different cultures. We went to all the countries in Western Europe because those were the ones we were allowed to go to. And going any further east, you really had to get like approval from the government to go because of my mom.
So what does that mean? Approval from the government?
It's like if we wanted to go to Russia, just like for the day or something, go to Moscow and see the little cathedral, I think it is. She would have to like submit a request up to her chain of command, and they'd have to have a real reason to allow her to go. Because if she were to get like kidnapped or abducted in Russia, it would be the government's responsibility to get her back. So they tried to limit their times of sending people over to Russia or any of really Eastern Europe for real.
Was it difficult living in Germany? Did you have to learn German?
Ein bisschen. Just a little. Just enough to remain conversational because most people in Germany, they take an English class. So they mostly know English. Especially like in our little region we were in Rhineland-Pfalz, and that's where the base was. So a lot of people in Rhineland-Pfalz knew English because a lot of Americans came through.
That's awesome. So what's your least favorite place that you've lived?
Probably Georgia. There's nothing really interesting there. It's just the base. It's a base town, so it's dependent on the base. And most people there are military. And there's a Air Force museum, but it's not like the real Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio. And I've been to both of them, and it's just nothing compared to the one in Ohio.
So are the majority of your friends that you keep in contact with also in the military, or are they from all the schools you've been to or places you've lived?
I would say it's about 50-50. I have some friends that I met while I was in Germany, which were automatically military kids because I went to school on the base, and you could only go to school on base if you had some sort of affiliation with the military. I don't have any German friends, for real. And then when I came back to the States, I have a few friends that I still keep in contact with from Texas and Georgia.
No Ohio friends?
No. I mean, I have one. His name is Nick.
Pretty fun. Okay, so what's your favorite memory or like a fun activity that you would do?
My favorite memory from when we lived in Germany would probably have to be when we tried to go to Luxembourg, France, and ended up in Luxembourg, the country, because my parents didn't know there was a difference when I typed it into the GPS. And we got there and they were like, wait a minute, this doesn't look like the pictures. And they were like, we actually are in France. We are in another tiny country.
I couldn't imagine just being able to drive to France. That's awesome. So how did you stay like active and involved? Like with your school and stuff, I guess.
Like,
did you play sports, instruments, anything like that? And was it hard to maintain?
Playing sports was hard to maintain because coming from Ohio, we had like little rec league for the elementary schoolers. And then in Germany, they didn't have like sports for the middle school. You have to play through the youth center. And I did that for a while until I like aged out, because in 8th grade you age out until your freshman year of high school. And then coming back stateside, sports was difficult because I had injured both my knees. And freshman year, 8th grade I couldn't play sports at all because I spent the whole like basketball season out because of my knee. And then freshman year, I played basketball and pole vaulted, which I picked up end of 8th grade once my knees were better. And then sophomore year, I also played basketball. And I played softball both years, too. But instruments were a lot easier. I played the violin and trombone because you can really go anywhere, and there's a music program. And there's no, like, it's based off of your ability and how you can play your instrument, what you get into. Played chamber orchestra both years while I was in Texas. And then moved to Georgia, and there was actually no orchestra locally. So I had to make a 45-minute drive every Monday and Wednesday to practice with, like, the Macon Youth Orchestra. And that's probably the most complicated music ever got.
Wow. Dedication. Okay. So, why are you not at the academy? Why did you choose Notre Dame? And why architecture?
Okay. I got into the academy on a verification of enrollment, which is this little fancy piece of paper that says if you get a nomination from your senator, you're into the academy as a member of the class of 2024.
From your state senator?
Yeah, from, well, any state representative.
Mm.
I chose a senator because it's more prestigious.
Mm-hmm.
Got my nomination, got in. I have a few friends there off of the same way, because we all went to this one event called the Falcon Visitation Experience, and at the end they were like, here, we want you. And we were like, cool. And so they're there, they really like it. If I would have gone, I would have had to do civil engineering. I didn't want to do civil engineering. So I passed up the free education to come here and do architecture, because one day when I was doing my career fair project in like the 5th grade or something, one of my mom's friends, her boyfriend at the time, came up to me. He was like, you should do architecture, because I didn't know what to do. And he was like, do architecture. And I was like, oh, okay, because he was an architect. And so he helped me out with it. And then we went to Germany like the next year. And I got to see a lot of the classical architecture traveling around Europe and stuff. And I was like, this is actually really cool. And so I was like, architecture is the way to go. And I started looking at schools with good architecture programs. Notre Dame's one of the top like 7 or 5. And I was like, cool. And that's what I went with.
Wow. Following your dreams.
Dreams.
So, was your mom upset that you're not following the legacy?
I think she was at first, but then she like looked at it, and my dad was excited about me coming to Notre Dame. She got excited because I was doing something I wanted to do and not just chasing the bag, I guess. Although it still feels like chasing the bag here, because a lot of architecture grads leave with a job, like a nice paying job.
Yeah.
So hopefully I don't end up in the 2% that doesn't.
Yeah. So do you have plans on ever being a legacy?
Like going into the Air Force?
Mm-hmm.
Probably no, because the Air Force doesn't have a need for architects really, because they're not building any new bases, stateside or foreign. They're really pulling troops out of their foreign bases. And then the only time that they built like bases recently was in the Middle East, and they were like breakaway bases where you could just tear them down once we left. But we're not really doing much of that anymore. Don't tell anybody I told you that.
My viewers, my teacher.
You can't tell anybody. But so yeah, not really.
So do you have any last words, comments, cool facts, anything you want to tell whoever watches besides my teacher?
Despite not going to the Air Force Academy, I can fly a plane, like a Cessna.
Breaking the stereotypes.
So a small
but
plane.
not at all.
I can fly a small plane. Like, they're 3-seaters most, unless you can fit like Oompa Loompa-sized people in it. But yeah, I have 10 hours logged towards like your 15 hours for like your provisional pilot's license. Just some random dude who knew my mom in the Air Force. He was like, you want to learn how to fly a plane? And I was like, sure.
How old were you?
When I started, I was like 15.
Oh, and before a car.
Yeah. You can fly a plane at 15. Like, you can get your license at 15 for planes. For, like, small planes.
Oh, my gosh.
Not commercial airlines.
Yeah. Well,
15-year-old pilot. But, yeah. He was like, hey, come fly this plane. I was like, oh, okay. And I just kept going back, and he was like, dope. I was like, cool. And then ended up with 10 hours before I left. So, might continue doing it. Might get, like, my original pilot's license. Fly myself everywhere instead of having to wait for a plane.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
But yeah, that's my one flex. I can fly a plane.
Thank you